Throughout 6 years of Fortnite's career, we've only had focus on two major modes. We had Save the World and Battle Royale. However, at the end of 2023, all of that has changed for the better or worse. At the beginning of December of 2023, we were introduced to three new permanent modes: LEGO Fortnite, Rocket Racing, and Fortnite Festival. These three new modes were made to expand their audience and to bring new people into Fortnite. And these weren't just modes that came out of nowhere. This was actually planned during Fortnite's humble beginnings. In fact, Donald Muster himself was the one who brought out this idea to have racing, music, PvP, a survival mode into one platform. And while this did turn out well, it also caused a bunch of issues that affected the UI as well as the BR mode. And in mid-2024, Fortnite Reload was released. Months later, during the start of Chapter 6, we got three more modes added to the game: Fortnite OG, Fortnite Ballistic, and LEGO Fortnite Brick Life. Altogether, that's 7 new modes added onto Fortnite. And while it sounds like a lot of fun, at least half of it, some of these inclusions to the game have caused more issues, some of which Epic has doubled down on, but we'll get into that later in the video. Personally, I have nothing against the Metaverse. Some of the modes I enjoy a lot whenever I'm not playing VR, and without these modes, we wouldn't have gotten a lot of really good content. But even I can admit that the first 3 modes were rushed in order to reach a deadline, with the last 3 not receiving much of a good reception. There's a lot to unpack with the Metaverse, so I'll try and give my thoughts on all 7 of these game modes, as well as list out the issues and solutions with and outside said modes. LEGO Fortnite, now known as LEGO Fortnite Odyssey, was the first mode to be released back in early December of 2023. This is actually a survival PvE type of mode, and by that I mean it's discount Minecraft, but with Legos and pretty limited compared to Minecraft. There isn't much for me to say about this mode, good or bad. It's simply there for LEGO fans. And to some people, this mode is pretty much dead because the game launched with over 2 million players and now is in the thousands. This isn't anything new, as most games don't withstand their day 1 players, but for a mode to drop from 2 million to less than 40k is a major drop off, and that likely has to do with the lack of updates it had. But despite that, LEGO Fortnite Odyssey isn't a dead game mode. Sure, the drop of players was extremely big, but when you compare the numbers of Odyssey to other games with less than 5k players, these games wish they could have the numbers that Odyssey is pulling. So I don't consider Odyssey a dead game mode. It still has its players, it still has its fan base at the end of the day. Unlike a certain mode that came after Odyssey, which leads us to Rocket Racing. Rocket Racing is a new racing mode created by Psyonix, the developer behind Rocket League. And for a while the game was pretty fun. Seeing your favorite cars from Rocket League in this racing game is really cool. But the novelty wore off in just a couple of months. We did get a few free rewards from reaching gold 1 and ranked, but that's about it. Nothing fun or amazing came out of it. Not even the themes for each track would maintain the player count. And the last time it had over 10k players was during the Metallica event back in Chapter 5 Season 3. There's only so many times where you could play this game so you get to the point where you want to play something else. Rocket Racing isn't much of a fun mode for people to play. If it played like a kart racer where you use some of Fortnite's items in order to stop other players, as well as racing in more goofy and vibrant tracks, with some of Fortnite's traditional music, the game would be a lot more fun and would have even more players. But that never happened, and because of the low player count and the lack of interest from the players themselves, Rocket Racing lost all support from the devs and would no longer create any more themes for the game. This is a major shame because Rocket Racing had a lot of potential to be a competent racing game to play. And the amount of content we've gotten from this mode is immaculate. But I don't see this game getting any updates for the foreseeable future. Plus the player count is less than 2k, so chances are they might remove the mode next year, but that's just a prediction. Now, if I was recording this during the beginning of Hatsune Miku's season, Fortnite Festival would have been doing very well at that point. However, we're in July of this year, and Fortnite Festival has been in a major decline since the middle of Season 7. Fortnite Festival is a rhythm game mode created by Harmonix, the developer of Guitar Hero and Rock Band. You see, back in 2021, while they were supporting Rock Band 4, they were bought out by Epic Games in order to work on Fortnite Festival, which came out days after Rocket Racing. It's the same as Rock Band. You hit the notes in time, use overdrive to increase your score, and try to get 5 stars on a song. You choose which song you want to play, and you choose which instrument has the least or most notes. And you also choose which difficulty you want to play on. If you play on easy or medium, it'll be more comfortable to learn the basics. If you're playing on hard, you will be tested. But if you play on expert, you're gonna have to get used to the 5th fret button, and also you can get gold stars just from playing on expert. And unlike Rock Band and Guitar Hero, which focus heavily on rock music, Fortnite Festival puts focus on all genres of music. And each season has a headline artist, bringing in different flavors of music. Now at the time, Fortnite Festival was doing pretty well, having artists like The Weeknd, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, Metallica, Karol G, Snoop Dogg, Hatsune Miku, and Sabrina Carpenter. Sure, some seasons were lackluster, but at least we were getting a good amount of jam tracks every Thursday. Plus, seeing your favorite skins on the main stage while playing Weezer is just majestic. I'll never forget the time where I saw Goku mastering those BTS songs. Festival is hands down my favorite mode of the 7. I love playing rhythm games a lot. I enjoyed my time with Guitar Hero 2 and 3 on an Xbox 360 controller. I know, that's insane, but yeah. I love playing the Hatsune Miku games. Hell, I even enjoyed playing Love Live when it came to PlayStation. Fortnite Festival is a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time mastering the game on the hardest difficulty while only playing on a controller. But even with all the good content we've gotten out of this game mode, not even Fortnite Festival can be an issue-free mode. For starters, we've been getting less than 3 jam tracks on a weekly basis ever since the beginning of Season 7. And by the time we got to the second half, it got worse. They decided to add FOMO to the game. FOMO means fear of missing out. To put it simply, they removed over 90% of the jam tracks from the shop and only featured the songs on a weekly rotation. So if you missed out on a particular jam track, you'll have to wait until it comes back in the shop. And that could take up to weeks or even months. So not only are we getting 1 to 2 jam tracks a week, but now getting jam tracks just feels so limited. The blueprints were established at the beginning of Season 1 where the jam tracks in the weekly rotation would be free to play. And if there's a particular jam track that you wanted to play, but isn't in a rotation, you either had to hope one of your friends has that track, or by buying it in the shop. But unfortunately, Epic screwed that up for everyone. And of course, there's Season 9 of Fortnite Festival. We thought Deadmau5 would be the next headliner for Season 9, but instead, we got Bruno Mars. I have no issues with having more Bruno Mars cosmetics, but for him to be a headline artist when we already have him in the game just feels off. Plus, the lack of promotion was very alarming. The only reason why we knew it was Bruno was because the leakers confirming that it was him instead of Deadmau5. And this was just a few days before the reveal. Keep in mind that Deadmau5 was teased in BR. So for Epic to tease the Deadmau5 collab and to make us think that he was going to be the next artist, only for Bruno Mars to take that spot, was a very weird move for them to make. Combined with the lack of promotion, we got a season that was a recipe for disaster. And with the small amount of jam tracks we've been getting, as well as FOMO playing a huge factor, Fortnite Festival is continuing to decline as time goes by, which is very unfortunate at the moment. Oh, and did I mention the battle stage and jam stage? Yeah, I don't think that's necessary after looking at both the player counts. Now, because Rect was on a decline in players, they released a new mode called Fortnite Reload. I really have nothing bad to say about Reload. It's a really good mode to play. In fact, it's my second favorite mode to play. The gimmick of this mode is that there's no need for reboot vans. As long as one of your teammates is still alive, you can reboot without needing to be rebooted in a van. But as you reach the end game, reboots are disabled for the rest of the match. The map is smaller with only 40 players, which makes the fights more apparent and has faster gameplay. And is also intense too. The loot pool can also range from many different weapons from different chapters. This mode is definitely maintaining an impressive amount of players, and with the new Squid Game map added to Fortnite Reload, even more players are hopping on to play it. So I think Reload is pretty fun and engaging. Sweaty, but fun and engaging. And it gives me a much better challenge, unlike a certain mode that we're getting into now. If you've been following my channel since late 2024, chances are you've seen my video talking about Fortnite OG and why it was a major mistake bringing it back permanently. To be personal about it, I hate OG. It's even worse than the season itself back in late 2023. I stopped playing it after getting my Victory Royale, and I never want to touch it ever again, even with skill-based matchmaking. I just cannot handle a map with too much space. And don't even think about coming in, just play builds, because one, it doesn't solve the issue. You're running away from the issue instead of trying to actually fix it. And two, I'm a zero builds player. There's nothing enjoyable or cool about cranking 90s in my opinion. I think they should have released OG on builds first, then take the time to make zero builds less spacious, but that's just my thing. That's how I feel. And I know I said that there should be bots for casual players and beginners, but Jesus Christ, having over 80% bots is beyond overkill. I did heard that they're working on a casual mode, which is cool for the casual players who wants to enjoy the mode without having to deal with sweats. And to give my thoughts on the community surrounding OG, I understand where people are coming from when they don't want bots in OG. But for people in the community to belittle others for wanting bots or just don't want to deal with sweats and just want to play the game, why do you care about what they say if you don't agree with it? If people like fighting against bots, that's them. Why should you care if that's their preference? This also goes to the casual players themselves. Why should you care about what this person says if it's not hindering your enjoyment or experience? Just keep enjoying the game and don't worry about what others think. And again, the mode only thrives on nostalgia. Once that novelty is gone, what is even the point of playing OG anymore? Which is why I still think this shouldn't have been a permanent mode. Something that the community gave people flack for, which is bullshit honestly. Why is saying OG shouldn't be permanent considered taboo or a bad thing? If anything, I think people have the rights to say that and to give their reasons why. If I, as well as many others, have a reason why OG shouldn't have been permanent, we have the rights to say so because it's our thoughts and opinions. And if you don't agree on it, either respect our opinions or just ignore it. Ignore it and move on with your day. Now back to talk about the game mode itself. If I have to compliment the mode, I at least like the cosmetics in the OG pass. I especially like Sparkle Diva and Cuddly Team Specialist. Do I think the seasons should be more shorter? Absolutely. 1 month per season should be enough time to finish an OG pass. But the OG pass being at 1,000 V-Bucks is a pretty cool price. If I were to come back to play this mode, maybe when the live events roll around. To end this off, I will say this after seeing some comments on my last video talking about OG. After playing OG for the first time back in 2023, I realized that there's a lot I need to improve on. And I do my best to adapt to whatever season Fortnite puts out. So whether you think I'm bad at the game or not, that's totally fine. But if there's one thing that I do not like, is being given advice or told what to do to improve. Whether it's from a random player, a friend, or a rival, I'm a self-learner. I learn how to play games on my own. That's the mindset I go with, and it's what I enjoy when playing the game for the first time. And if there's something I'm struggling with, I can either learn and improve on that by myself, or just look it up on the internet, which is different from being told directly what to do. It's up to me to figure out what I need to do in order to get better at the game. So I mean this in the nicest way possible. I don't need you or anyone telling me how to improve in a video game, because I improve on my own, especially in Fortnite. And that's how I roll when playing any video game that catches my interest. I hope you all understand when I say all of this. So with that being said, let's move on. Do I even need to talk about this mode? I really don't. Lego Fortnite Brick Life is just GTA, but with no killing and more family friendly. But seriously, what is even the point of creating this mode if it lacks appeal? I guess the only good thing about it was that it had that Lego Star Wars event, which explains why we have Captain Phasma in the game. But that's about it. Not as interesting as Odyssey, and as sure as hell ain't getting past 5K ever again, at least until they add another collab to it. Finally, we have Fortnite Ballistic. This is what happens if Call of Duty and CSGO had a kid together. You're in a team of 5 against another team of 5, and you either have to kill all 5 players in order to win a round, or successfully plant the bomb and wait until it explodes. You earn credits by winning rounds. Doing so will have you buy any of the weapons available, and if you win 7 rounds, you win the match. And don't even try to rage quit, otherwise you'll run the risk of getting a penalty. At first I didn't find this mode to be appealing because it's a first-person shooter, and I'm not into first-person shooters, especially Call of Duty. Now give me Simran Kagura and we're golden. However, after playing Ballistic for the first time, I actually find it pretty fun. Despite that, it has issues. Firstly, the original Ballistic had to be removed due to it being a bug, so players had to play rank for the meantime, but when it did come back, the numbers were atrocious. Fast forward to now, the main Ballistic is gone, with ranked topping less than 7k players, even with a new map. So yeah, I think Ballistic does kinda have its fan base despite it slowly being on the decline. Like I said before, I find it pretty fun to play, even if I'm not into first person shooters. But for a mode to be averaging between 5 to 6k players, how long can it last until Epic decides to pull the plug on that mode like they did with OG Rank? And do I even need to mention Fall Guys in Fortnite? I mean, it's there, we got a cute little back bling out of it, I guess, but I really don't see the point in putting Fall Guys in the game if it's being put in the sidelines with nothing new. Oh well. While Reload, OG, and Ballistic doesn't offer anything else in terms of content to get or buy, LEGO Festival and Rocket Racing sure does. And while most of them are good, there are a few that are considered questionable. For Rocket Racing, we have cars, trucks, and SUVs being sold in the shop between the price range of 1500 V-Bucks to 2800 V-Bucks. When they were first released, the cars overpriced, with the highest being at 4000. But after some major backlash and criticism, Epic listened and lowered the prices. They also have trails, wheels, and boosts for you to buy as well. But let's say you don't want to buy any cars or car cosmetics in the shop. Well, if you have Fortnite Crew, you can get 2 free cars and cosmetics from each Rocket Pass in Rocket League. And those 2 cars and cosmetics will be imported to Fortnite for you to use in both Rocket Racing and BR. Fortnite Festival has over 200 GM tracks, each costing 500 V-Bucks. But like I said before, you're now only allowed to purchase the GM tracks that are in the weekly rotation, which kinda sucks, so yeah. The game also has instruments for you to buy, but for some odd reason, they're now selling only 1 instrument at a time, not counting the instruments from the headline artists. Speaking of which, if you're not into buying instruments or the shop bundle, you can get the Music Pass, which includes the Music Pass skin, 2 instruments, 1 to 2 jam tracks, a back bling, and sometimes an emote for that artist. And you'll also get other cosmetics that are Fortnite original, all for 1400 V-Bucks, which is a good deal. And you also get jam tracks out of it as well. I'm talking jam tracks from certain artists. However, the most infamous item that was being sold in the shop was the LEGO kits. These are kits that you can use in LEGO Fortnite. And while it gave players more content to digest, spending up to $20 on a LEGO kit is very unlikely. Plus, not everyone is keen on buying a LEGO kit in the shop, which is probably why they're not being sold in the shop anymore, at least for now. But if you want to get LEGO kits, I highly recommend buying the LEGO Pass. They offer you a skin, decor sets, and up to 3 to 4 LEGO builds, all for the price of 1400 V-Bucks. That is awesome, and it's even better than just buying a LEGO kit for 2000 V-Bucks. But what's not awesome is the fact that they decided to add kicks in the game. It's another cosmetic that they've added back in Remix Chapter 2. If you bought the Battle Pass at that time, you would have gotten a pair of kicks for free since they were in Dynamo TNT's set. But in the shop, however, original kicks cost 600 V-Bucks, while the branded kicks cost between 800 to 1200 V-Bucks. Who in their right mind is buying something that you're not even gonna focus on? Especially something that costs the same amount as a skin. Seriously, just buy the 600 V-Buck kicks if you want to buy a pair. And unless they bring in Sonic's kicks, you will not see me buying any of these kicks. I'm thankful to even get a pair for free for owning the Rat Boy Reloaded skin. Aside from this and the LEGO kits, all the other Metaverse stuff in the shop to buy, I really have no issues with. They're there if you want to purchase them and if you want to support these modes. The Metaverse has done wonders, bringing in more people from different communities, from Guitar Hero players to LEGO fans and many more. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. It has gotten in the way of Fortnite due to the first half of Chapter 5. Firstly, the item shop. With the new rules being placed, now all the skins and emotes had to be compatible with LEGO. Doesn't sound too bad if it weren't for the fact that the skins and emotes that aren't compatible with LEGO can't be sold in the shop until it's possible, which is why we haven't seen the return of bundles and emotes until they were compatible, and is also one of the reasons why Winterfest 2023 was very bad. Now, not all of the skins were mandatory for this. Certain collabs such as anime, cartoons, and gaming legends were able to come back without needing Legos, but other collabs and all the other original skins needed to follow the rules in order to come back, unless you're Eminem and Snoop Dogg. This resulted in half of Chapter 5 having the worst item shops in Fortnite history, with certain tabs being repeated within a 2-week rotation, even with the new collabs and originals added. Thankfully, this issue has been fixed and we've been getting much better item shops. Secondly, the locker UI. Because Epic had to accommodate all the modes, the locker was drastically changed and now it has a music tab, a car tab, and a Lego kit tab. But the worst of it was that they separated skins, emotes, raps, and lobbies into 4 separate tabs and 4 separate presets. At the time, 4 loadouts were removed, but at the beginning of Remix Chapter 2, you can now save everything in one loadout, which is a lifesaver. But still, people do not like this locker design, and I think it needs to be revamped. Thirdly, and this is what really enraged the community even more, they've removed the rarity system. So all cosmetics from common to legendary now have no rarities added to them. However, all cosmetics from gaming legends to icons, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, etc. are intact. With the removal of rarities, prices on cosmetics have gone up to ridiculous degrees, and they knew this because they hid this update behind the avatar cosmetics. But it didn't just affect the shop, it also affected the locker. Now all cosmetics are in alphabetical order, completely ruining the locker for everyone. Plus, now the locker looks lifeless with no flair added to it. But the cherry on top is something devastating that was revealed to us after the avatar update, which made the community question whether or not they wanted to continue supporting Fortnite after what they've read. In late April of last year, the people at GameFile did an interview with Donald Mustard, the former lead creator of Fortnite. Now, I did not feel like paying $10 just to read an interview, but thankfully, a kind soul posted the interview on a Google Doc, so I'll read it from there. By mid-2022, Epic was committed to build LEGO Fortnite and Fortnite Racing, the new expansion of Fortnite into a proper multi-game platform that will go live in December 2023. To build all this stuff, it takes so many people and so much time, Mustard says. Basically, the event team was started to be needed to work on other stuff, and it was devastating to me because I'm like, this is actually the magic, and not everyone at Epic Games agree with that. That one paragraph was enough for people to feel genuinely upset, and I completely understand. Donald wanted for his story to continue, as well as to have the metaverse exist alongside the storyline, but not at the cost of the live events. But because Epic really wanted to push for the metaverse out for late 2023, they took the one source that he needed to continue the live events, which explains why Chapter 4 never got any live events at all. Keep in mind, all the stuff behind the scenes was happening in mid-2022, but thankfully Donald got what he wanted before Chapter 4. Mustard also began itching to work on new projects and decided to accelerate Fortnite's story. He crammed in some high points. I threw myself a fireworks show. I got Darth Vader in, got Indiana Jones in. I got to make sure I got all the stuff that I needed for me. That's why the season is called Vibin'. It's just like hanging out, just a celebration. Now after all of this, Chapter 4 never got any live events up until late November of 2023. I still consider Chapter 4 as my favorite chapter I've ever played, but I can imagine how different it would be if that chapter had live events at the time. In 2023, Mustard decided to leave Epic. He was working on a secret new project about which he'll only say that it wasn't a game. It started out to be of an alignment with all the stuff Epic should be focusing on, he says. Mustard told Epic CEO Tim Sweeney he was leaving. Tim and I talked about it for a long time, he says. Sweeney floated other roles at the company, including directing a big Disney project, Mustard recalls. That was actually a really clarifying thing, he says. He wanted to pursue his own thing. Now that I look at it, I just keep trying to be on the edge, and I think there's this one last edge I've got to try. Mustard now considers himself retired from games. He says he didn't have his next role in mind when he left, but by the end of 2023, the Russo brothers came calling and asked if he partnered with them at their production company called AGBO. Now after reading this entire section of the interview, I don't think Tim is at fault at all for this. things like this happens. Sometimes ideas don't clash together, and that's okay. Donald wanted the metaverse to happen, but not at the expense that Tim wanted. He was very passionate about the storyline and didn't want for the live events to be pushed aside for the metaverse. I think that was the tipping point for Donald Mustard. Yes, he wanted to work on other things, but losing his event team was very devastating. And after looking back at all the past live events, I 100% understand everyone's frustration. But like I said, Tim Sweeney isn't at fault over this. Again, stuff like this happens when two different visions of the same idea don't correlate with each other. But Tim wanted Donald to stay. Remember, Donald said that Tim floated other roles at the company. He was determined to keep him around, but unfortunately, that never happened. Personally, I like what came out of the metaverse, and I'm glad we got to see live events again, big or small. But even I can admit that it has gotten in the way of the game during the first half of Chapter 5. From the Big Bang Live event, to the locker UI, the item shop, the rarity system, as well as the Star Wars event. Thankfully, things have gotten better in Fortnite when Wrecked rolled around. But the item shops, Metallica in all 4 modes, a new original mode that's been continuously good, an amazing Fortnite mirrors, Remix Chapter 2, and a really good Winterfest. I think BR, Lego Odyssey, and Reload, they're in really good shape, even if I didn't like Lawless. But Epic needs to do a better job at listening to their community. No one wanted the rarity system to go. No one wanted this awful locker UI. No one wanted the limited jam tracks. And no one wants any more modes if it means splitting the player base by an obnoxious degree. People still love Festival, but the game will never reach over 14K again at this point due to the poor decisions Epic has made. If Epic sees this and actually goes back to how it was in Festival, as well as bringing out new artists, I can see this mode getting back to almost 20K players again. Brick Life and Rocket Racing are 2 metaverse modes that aren't resonating with anyone. Ballistic is there, but it has lost its momentum that I don't think it'll get back. And OG is also just there. It's for the players who cares mostly about Chapter 1. As for the stuff surrounding the metaverse, they need to either bring back the rarity system or make new rarities like the anime legends or the cartoon series. Hell, give the Battle Pass cosmetics and OG Pass cosmetics their own rarity system. I think that'll help organize the cosmetics more. And also rework the locker UI and put all 4 of the first tabs back into one simple tab. Even with loadouts being back, this locker still feels very complicated. This locker needs a major revamp. Same with the shop tabs. Instead of just constantly scrolling down, maybe make the sections for each original and collab scrollable sideways while keeping the cosmetic previews on the right side. I'm sure Epic can find a way to do that. And finally, either go back to the Burbank font or use a different font because this one is not it. This looks way too corporate, and I'm probably not the only one who feels that way. Personally, I'm actually glad the metaverse happened, despite me not liking the decisions being made throughout the first half of Chapter 5. It gave us more ways of enjoying the game rather than just playing BR and creative. I put some time in Lego Fortnite. I still enjoy playing Reload whenever I'm not playing BR. I might play Ballistic sometimes, as well as Rocket Racing, but Fortnite Festival is the mode I put the most time in. I bought every single pass for each season. Yes, even the passes costed 1800 V-Bucks. I bought a few jam tracks, especially Dynamite and Butter by BTS, great songs in my opinion, and even bought some of the featured artist bundles like Lady Gaga and Sabrina Carpenter, except for Hatsune Miku that was gifted to me by my friend Blazix, which you can check it out in the top right corner. I spent months mastering the games at the highest difficulty on the controller. I really enjoyed playing this mode, whether I'm by myself or that I'm schooling my friends and family. You can tell that I'm heavily dedicated to Festival. I even made videos on this mode, and I hope things will change for the better. But I would like to know your thoughts about the metaverse as well as the modes you've played the most. Also, please use code StarTastic in the shop as it helps support the channel. I really appreciate it a lot. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate all the love and support. And until then, this is Star the Protagonist signing out. As always, Goki Genyo and have a Startastic day, everyone. If you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notifications on to join the Star Nation. Also, be sure to follow my Twitter, and while you're at it, check out my previous video. Now.